Hi, everybody. We've got Jeff here from BCFS. He's going to talk to us today about childhood safety.
Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. Thanks to the Harlingen Public Library for allowing me to spend some time with everybody this morning. I am the Director of Community Services for BCFS, and one of the programs that we have is called Project Hopes. It's a program that is designed to work with parents in their home. We use a curriculum that's called Safe Care, and one of the parts of Safe Care has to do with safety, primarily a lot of safety in the home. And so that's kind of what I'm talking about today. Things that you can do to make sure that your home is safe and secure, things to think about, maybe even when you're visiting family or friends, because I know that probably a lot of you have done some things, made some modifications in your home that to make sure that your children are safe. But those are also things that you need to think about when you are visiting a family or friends, neighbors, because they may not have children that are smaller like yours, the same age, and they may not have put as much thought into how to keep their home safe as you would have. So one of the first things that you want to think about with the child, and what the children that we work, or the families that we work, have children who are 0 to 5. So we're talking about the little bitty guys. So one of the first things that you want to think about are reachability and accessibility. Because typically things are only going to be dangerous if the child can reach them, or if they're not locked up or secured. So one of the things that you might want to consider doing is doing some measurements of your child. The first thing is maybe to have them stand up and measure from the eye level to the floor. Because if they can't see an item or whatever might be on your counters or wherever furniture, they're probably not going to have interest in it. It's only when they can see it that it becomes interesting to them and something that they want to explore. So if you do that, you can kind of use that as a guideline for going around the rooms in your house and saying, okay, so this is up high. The child can't see it. Probably I don't have to worry about it. But if they can see it, then it is something that you want to think about, and how can you secure or prevent them from getting to that item. A second thing that you want to measure for is their reach. And the best way to do that is have them stand on the floor and extend their arms up in the air straight like this. And you want to measure from the floor to the tip of their fingers. That gives you an idea of what they can get to. That might be out on your counters, your cabinets, any of those places. The other thing you want to consider when you are measuring their reach is they're probably not necessarily always going to be standing flat-footed when they're reaching for something. There's a really good chance that they're going to be standing on the tips of their toes, trying to reach up to grab something that's on your kitchen counter. Also, kind of related to that is, especially in kitchen areas, people have step stools because in order to get to the higher cabinets. And those are things then that they might be able to climb up on, and that's going to extend their reach. So please be careful about those items, and use those measurements as kind of a guideline to what they might be able to access. So I have today a group of safety items. They're things that you can purchase, usually places like Target, Walmart. You can get them off of Amazon. There's a number of different places you can get them on online. And they're all designed to help secure the home. So the first thing is something that's very basic. It's just a plastic plug protector that you can put in the wall outlets so that they can't try to get their fingers in them. These are pretty basic. I'm sure probably some of you already have these, but those are things that you want to make sure that you have in your wall outlets to protect those. There are a number of different tools that we use to secure cabinets. The first is this guy, and this is something that attaches to the inside the frame of the cabinet. And then what it does is when you pull to open it, it's going to catch the cabinet door right here. It has some grooves right here, so if you need to get into it, you can press on this, it forces this down, and it opens the cabinet. But for the child, they're going to be yanking on the cabinet door, and it's going to run into this stop right there and prevent them from getting inside the cabinet. A second kind of cabinet lock is if you have handles on the cabinets. This has little inserts right here that you can pull out. The bottom part will extend out. You run that through the cabinets, back through the hole, and then secure it with the inserts again, getting it as tight as you can so that the child, he might be able to pull on the cabinet door, but he's not going to be able to get into it. There is a third one that we use, and it works well for the cabinets that might have knobs on them. Now this one has an insert here. So what you would do is you're going to secure one of the knobs right here. And most likely what you're going to have to do, you may be able to extend this out far enough to get it around it and then secure it to the second side. There is a chance you may have to take that knob off, run it through this hole, and then reattach it to the cabinet, and then secure it on the other side like that. And you can get as close as you need to with this. It goes pretty close like that. Another thing that I wanted to share is securing doors, because kids are going to reach for the doors. They're going to try to get outside, or maybe there's a room in home that you don't want to have them to have access to. So there are a couple of options for doors. These are for doors that just have the regular round knob. It comes apart like this. You're going to put it in the middle like this, and then it secures around the knob of the door. So that way they may be able to access this, but it's just going to turn on the knob of the door. It has holes right here, so as an adult, you can put some pressure on the inside of the door and turn it like this. So you can do that. Their hand's probably not going to be big enough to do that and be able to get a hold of the knob and turn it to open the door. So that one works real well to secure doors. If you have a lever door opener, this is something that attaches. It's got a double stick tape. It's really strong tape, and it secures to the frame. And then it has buttons here that you can push, so you can bring it down like this if you need to open the door. When you want to secure it, you just bring it up like this. The thing that I particularly like about this and a couple other products is they have these decoy buttons. So the child may come up to it and pressing this, or he or she is going to press this, and they're going to think that that gives them some kind of access, but it's not. All they're doing is just pressing a button. There's a lot of different safety products that have this, and kind of a favorite of mine. So one of the other things that you need to think about in your home is ways to, especially for the little ones that are maybe just beginning to crawl and pull themselves up on furniture, or maybe they're just starting to walk and so they're a little unsteady on their feet. We all have coffee tables, end tables in our house. They've got sharp edges. So there are a number of different products that you can purchase that will secure those and blunt any kind, if they fall, it'll blunt the corners. So this is a plastic piece, and I hope you can see it well. It has double stick tape that comes with it. So you just put this piece of tape on the inside like that. You can do it on the other side also, pull it back and secure it to the end of the table. These are rounded off, and again, clear plastic, as you can see. There are some other ones that are very similar to this. They're more of a V shape. They're usually brownish in color, but it's a soft foam rubber corner. It attaches the same way. And it does help secure the corners and edges and prevent any issues should the child fall or graze up against it. Another safety item that we have is, and this is one that people don't think about a lot, is securing your commode. Water is safety, and I'll go into it a little bit more later on. It is really important because you know, even an inch of water is dangerous for children. So what this one does is it's a strap that you attach to the side of the commode, and then this strap goes on top of the commode. Typically, what you're going to want to do is just off to the right or the left of the center of the lid. You're going to want to attach it there. Again, double stick tape. It'll stick to the bottom or to the side of the commode. Then this flap is going to come over, and you're going to secure it to the top of the lid. That way the child is not going to be able to lift up the lid, and you've eliminated that danger. This works pretty easy. On the side, you press in it on the side, and you can pull it up. If you need to use the commode, when you're done, you simply secure it like this. This one also is a favorite because of, again, the decoy button. They can play with that all they want, but they're never going to get anywhere with it. That's one of those things that people don't think about a lot, but it is very important in the home. For those of you that have, again, the smaller children, it's always important to kind of examine your home and look for things that might be choking hazards for them. This is a choke tube. And what it does is it kind of is, this is designed to kind of emulate the width of the esophagus of a child. So if you can put something into this choke tube and it goes through, then you know that that's a potential choking hazard. So I've got just a couple of things here for example, this just a cap off of a water bottle. You put it in, you can see it can go in. If it goes in like that, you know it's a potential choking hazard. Coins, again, a quarter, it could be a problem. So you want to watch for those things. Jewelry is a big one. This is a ring. It can go in, potential hazard. This is, and I have very limited access to things in my house that are work with this, but this is a tea light. So you drop it and you can see it won't go through. So that's something that you probably don't have to worry about. These choke tubes are available all over the place. Another alternative that you might consider that does work in place of a choke tube is you can use the cardboard roll from a roll of toilet paper. It's going to be larger than the choke tube, but it's an added measure of prevention for the child, because if it goes through there, it's something that you need to be careful and be aware of. One more thing. a lot of people have flat screen TVs. Or you may have pieces of furniture, cabinets, bookcases, things that may not be totally steady if the child is reaching up to grab them, or maybe like with a bookcase, maybe they're going to be climbing on it. So there are these straps that you can buy. You take one end that attaches to the back of the item, whether that be the TV or a bookcase or a filing cabinet or anything like that. The other end attaches to the wall, and it has a strap in the middle so that you can tighten it and secure it to whatever length that you need to. The last thing I want to talk about in terms of particular items is a lot of the things that I've talked about, you can purchase in kind of large groups. This particular piece has 80 pieces in it. It's got the plug protectors that I talked about. It has this cabinet lock. It has the doorknob covers, and it has this cabinet lock. And there's 20 pieces of each. All these items I've used today are from a company called Safety First. I'm not endorsing them. It's just something that's it's a name that's very popular and easy to find in your local stores, online. So just something to keep in mind. So I did want to talk just real quickly about some different hazard categories. What we do is work off of 10 different hazard categories: poisoning, choking, suffocation, drowning, fire and electrical, falls or activities, sharp objects, firearms, crush, and then allergens and organic ones. Most of this stuff you're gonna hear and you're gonna think, oh yes, I know about that, and you probably do, and it is probably stuff that you know about and you think about. I'm just going to go over a few things in each category that maybe you don't think about. And for poisons, it's typically things like cleaners, medications, alcohol. It could be plants, alcoholic beverages, tobaccos, but it's also things like beauty products. A lot of the beauty products have chemical compounds in them that will create problems for your child. Even things like contact solution can cause stomach problems. So just things to think about. And when I talk about these things, what I would encourage you to do is to spend some time going into each room in the house that your child has access to, and just kind of taking a brief survey of the room and trying to think about what are the potential dangers here, and think about them not only from your perspective, but also from the perspective of the child. If the child's really active and they're inquisitive and they're interested in things, there may be things in the room that they see that they're really interested in that you don't even think about. And so you just want to always be thinking about keeping an eye on anything that might be a potential issue. For choking, and kind of going back to using the choke tube again, be careful of small toys, obviously, things like marbles, it could be Legos, those kinds of things. Jewelry, obviously, coins we talked about, batteries, push pins, thumbtacks, those kinds of things. It can also be food, though, things like grapes or hot dogs. Those are things that you just want to be careful of and be aware of. And a lot of this comes down to, a lot of times it's one of the things that we always talk about as a parent, is that you're not only a role model, but you're the supervisor. And supervision is just so very important. Making sure that you're keeping an eye on your child and things that they have access to. Suffocation and a lot of the things that you'll probably think about, grocery sacks, obviously, the plastic ones. Kids are going to be inquisitive. They're going to play with those if they have access to them. If they get them over their head, that's a problem. If you have window treatments in your home, if they're blinds, there may be cords that hang down low that they could get tangled in. So you want to be careful about those and make sure, again, kind of going back to reachability and making sure that they're not in a position where they can reach those. Drowning is one, again, just to touch on a little bit, as much as an inch of water can be dangerous. And so supervision, especially when they're taking a bath, is extremely important. And that's always something you want to do. You never want to leave them unattended. You want to make sure that you're there within sight of them in case there's an issue. The unsecured toilets are an issue. With the summer months coming, and one of the things that you may want to consider is if you spend time at a pool, is making sure that you're supervising your child at all times. There is a resource that I'd like to talk to you about. It's called CollinsHope.org, and it's COLINHOPE.org. I've had opportunity to listen to Colin's mom and her story a couple of times. Colin was a 4-year-old who lived in Austin several years ago. He had taken some swim lessons. He had become comfortable with the water, enjoyed being in the water. The family was at a community pool one summer, and he was playing in the water with a bunch of kids, and then all of a sudden, they weren't able to find him. And by the time they did find him and rescued him, he had drowned. But they have a tremendous amount of resources on their website for how to make sure, things to watch for at pools, things that you can do as the parent to provide proper supervision. It's an excellent resource, and I would highly encourage you, if you are going to be spending time at a pool this summer or a lake or at the beach, any kind of situation like that, that you spend some time maybe just taking a look through there. It's a great resource. The next one is fire or electrical. Again, we're going back to things like making sure that your outlet covers are in place. If you have fireplaces, make sure that they have screens that the child can't manipulate and get around. Any other kinds of things that are combustible, lighters, things like that. Falls and some activity restrictions that you want to watch out for. Obviously, stairs. If you've got baby gates when they're young, that's a perfect thing. You not only can make sure that they're secured in an area where you can have proper supervision, but you can put them up on the stairs to make sure that they can't start their way upstairs while you're not watching and then fall down. Check your windows, make sure that they're secured. And if you have balconies, if you live or decks on your house or your apartment, make sure that those areas are secure. We don't want them having access to the outside, not being supervised, and then manipulating them ways to some way over the edge so that they could fall. Sharp objects are I think pretty self-explanatory for everybody. Knives, swords, yeah, right. Scissors, razors, broken glass. If something happens, you're in the kitchen, you break a glass, you want to make sure that your child is far away from that before you start to clean it up. Make sure that they're safe and secure. Making sure that firearms are properly secured, handguns, BB guns, those kinds of things. Crush kind of goes back to what we talked about earlier with Making sure that TVs, flat screen TVs, or well, any kind of TV is secure, because if they're reaching up to try to change the channel, the volume, whatever, we want to make sure that the TV doesn't fall on them. Bookcases, file cabinets. If you've got, maybe in the garage, you may have boxes that you've got piled up, or plastic containers that you're storing things in. You want to make sure that they have limited access to those, because you don't want those to pull those over on themselves and then risk some kind of injury. Allergens, and a lot of this kind of goes to keeping your home clean, keeping their environment clean. Things like dirty dishes and food that might sit down on a counter for a long period of time. Being careful of insects that might be in the home. Pet hair can be an issue. Smoking is obviously something that could be something that you want to make sure you're doing it outside, because you don't want to expose them to secondhand smoke. Just a couple of other things I wanted to touch on real briefly for those of you that have babies. Some things to consider for safe sleep, and it's something that we refer to as the ABCs of safe sleep. A is alone. The child should be sleeping alone, no blankets or bedding, preferably in the same room with you, not in the bed with you, but in the same room with you. B is for backs. You want them to sleep on their backs, not on their sides or their stomachs. C is crib. You want them in a crib. You need a good firm mattress, and more importantly, you need a nice tight fitting bottom sheet, because you don't want them to be able to grab on the sides of the sheet, pull it out, and then there's a corner that's loose that maybe they could get their head stuck in. And then S is for a smoke-free environment. Again, kind of going back to what I talked about just a minute ago, making sure that there's no smoking when they're around, making sure that there's no second-hand smoke in the home or the environment where they are, and just being safe and free from that. Real briefly, just a couple of other kind of safety tips that I'll talk about that you might want to think about. Again, animal safety, making sure that if they're around the family pet, or if they're at a neighbor's house and they have animals, again, going back to supervision, you don't want to leave them alone typically with the pet. Be observant of the pet's mood, and if the pet might be nervous or irritable, making sure that they're not in that same area. Be careful of the food and the water bowls, that you don't have kids crawling around on the floor and they might have access to it. Making sure that litter boxes for cats are out of their reach. Also a good idea to make sure that they're kept up to date on any vaccinations that they might need. And let me just couple of other things that I wanted to talk about. There are websites that have a tremendous amount of information that's valuable. One is helpandhope.org, helpandhope.org. It's a site that's run by the Department of Family and Protective Services. They have some great videos, how to address issues with children of all ages, from infants all the way through teenagers. They have individual sections that deal with a variety of different topics that are all very useful. It's something that's updated on a regular basis. They just have some awesome videos. So it's a really good place for you to go kind of kick around, maybe pick up some tips, some information. Some of the videos you can even share with your kids. It's really good stuff. Another one is safekids.org, safekids.org. And they have a lot of great safety information on their website, again, related to different things. There's things about car seat safety. They also have information on product recalls. So if you have maybe a stroller or you've got toys even, you can go to the website and they'll have a list of all the items that have been had product recalls. Again, just trying to take an extra measure to make sure that you're maintaining a safe and healthy home for your children. That is kind of the information I wanted to share with you today. I really appreciate you guys taking some time to click on this and view this. And I wish you all a happy, healthy, and safe day. Thank you.
Great. Thanks so much, Jeff. Have a great
Sure.
day.
Bye.
Bye.